Okay, welcome. We are kind of close to Chanukah time, very, very soon. And I want to explain a little bit about Chanukah. So, the first question I think you have to ask yourselves is that we had different miracles that happened. The miracle of the battle of the world power at the time, the superpower Greece, against a ragtag bunch of rabbis called the Maccabees, the Chashmonaim. And miraculously, this group of ragtag militia beat the strongest army in the world. And that is clearly a miracle. And the question therefore is that why is that miracle barely celebrated while the miracle of the lighting of the candles is the primary expression of Hanukkah? And really, if you think about it, that there's a lot of reasons why that shouldn't be the miracle, shouldn't be the commemoration. Why? Because technically they could have lit with not pure oil. What was the story? The story is the oil was impure, and they found one little flask with the seal of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest of Israel, and they lit that. It was enough for one day, and they went and they get the brand new oil. They want to make it totally pure, and they put the whole thing. And then the miracle happened that the one day's worth of oil lasted for 8 days. And that was enough time for them to be able to go and to make new pure oil and to bring it back and to rededicate the temple with this miracle. Okay, so obviously it's a tremendous miracle that oil for one day lasted for 8 days. I understand that, but it's a little strange why that is the thrust of Hanukkah. And we barely mention. We mention in the Shemoneh Esrei, in the prayers, we mention that, and Hashem saved us from the powerful Greeks and did miracles for us in the battles, but that's just mentioned in passing. So we need to understand why the lighting is so crucial and why this is the holiday of lights, which is what it really is. The inauguration of the temple, which the Greeks were persecuting the Jews and making decrees against them. And, contrary to what people think of what Hanukkah is, not the holiday of tolerance, it's not what happened. The Greeks were trying to force us to take on Hellenism, Greek views, and we fought and said, no, we don't want that. We don't believe in that. We chased them out. We reacquired the temple. We re-sanctified it and inaugurated it, and that is Chanukah, the inauguration of the temple and the miracle of the candles. Okay, so the first question is why the miracle of candles is so crucial to that. That's what I want to understand. And let's start by sort of going through a little bit go back a little bit earlier in terms of the candles that we light on Hanukkah. They are representative of the lights of the Beis HaMikdash, of the temple. Okay, in the temple we lit the menorah. It had 7 branches, not 8, and that was in the Beis HaMikdash, the temple. And today we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, and we light the candles of the menorah, which is sort of like a representation of bringing the light of the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, into our world. And this is the holiday that ushers us into the darkest time of year, literally, and darkest time of the exile, brings us into the future when we rebuild the temple and be able to light the candles in the temple. Now, there's a strange story that happens when the original tabernacle Mishkan is set up. What happens? It says that when they inaugurated the original Mishkan tabernacle way before the first temple and before the second temple. So what happened was the Nesiim, the princes, brought offerings to bring to God, bring to Hashem, and they all did, and they had this incredible experience of wanting to give and to be close, and they offered this. And it was some strange offerings, the things that were not normally offered, like incense offering, which was not supposed to be done, only was commanded, other offerings that are not brought only in certain circumstances, but they decided they wanted to do this as part of the inauguration, and God accepted it. Now, when he accepted it, at that moment, Aaron Aaron, who was the prince of the Levites, felt bad because he did not think to offer anything. Right? The other princes of the other tribes, they all made this free will offering, and God accepted it, and Aaron didn't. And Aaron felt bad. He said, "Oh my gosh, why my whole tribe is losing out because I didn't want to do this, and I didn't think to do this, and they did." So Hashem said, "Don't worry, Aaron. Your reward and your service is greater than theirs, because what they're bringing now is temporary for the inauguration of the tabernacle, the Mishkan. But what you're doing by lighting the menorah in the temple, that's going to last forever." Okay, so the lighting of the menorah will last forever. So the commentaries will ask, wait a minute, what does that mean? I mean, first of all, there's no temple now, so there's no lighting of the menorah either. And Aaron was doing everything in the temple. He was doing the offerings, he was doing everything. So why would the menorah, the candelabra, lighting the lights, why would that be so special? And the Ramban answers, he says, what it's referring to is not the lights of the temple, but it's the lights of Chanukah. Okay? That goes forever. That continues throughout our exile, and that you should feel good about Aaron. I watched Aaron feel good about it in particular. Well, the miracle happens through the Hashmonai and the Kohanim, the descendants of Aaron, they are the ones who go and start this rebellion against the Greeks, and they ended up winning and sanctifying the temple, and that's the comfort. Now, there's a question we should be asking ourselves here. So if Aaron felt bad because he should have offered this, so why did Hashem say to him, well, it's okay, yours is better than theirs? And like, what does it not do with the other? Why didn't Aaron go and think of the same thing that they did? And the answer is that there is a question first in life, how a person goes and comes in front of Hashem. If you'd imagine a person, living in a country that had a kingdom, imagine walking over to the palace, knocking on the door, and saying, "I want to talk to the king." They'd say, "Who are you? Get out of here! What business do you have?" So Aaron therefore felt a certain place, like, how could I go and offer these offerings that God didn't ask me to do? Some of them even contradict what was normally done. Where do I come off doing such a thing? So Aaron felt that there was a lacking in himself, that he didn't go and push like they did, but it seemed to make sense from his perspective, because who said they did the right thing? Maybe they were audacious. When God accepted it, Aaron said, "Ooh, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I really, I don't know what. I don't have this ability to go where I should be going and stepping forward where I should." So what is that trait? What is that trait? The trait of being able to go and to push something when you don't know if it's the right thing or not. That trait is called azus. Azus is brazenness. Okay, a person who says, "Listen, I am so sure that what I'm doing is right. I don't care. I'm going to push forward." Okay. Now, that trait of azus is a unique quality, but you could imagine it'd be a very bad thing too. If a person feels that I don't care what anyone says, I'm just pushing my things, that's very bad. If someone, on the other hand, I'm pushing for what's right, that's a very good thing. Now, this trait of azus in the animal kingdom is compared to one particular animal who has a certain ability to fight in a way that is maybe beyond its own strength, but it has this ferociousness, this lack of fear, called brazenness. And that animal is called the leopard. The leopard. The leopard is called az kanam. A person, in a certain sense, is said that at certain times in life you should be brazen like a leopard and do what you have to do no matter what. Now, who is the leopard? So in the vision of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, who had this dream of the different kingdoms that would come into the world, and he saw himself a certain way. He was a lion, and then he saw the next was a bear, which was Persia. He sees the third kingdom. The third kingdom is called a leopard. Now, the third kingdom, the sages tell us, was Greece. Greece that ruled over the world. Alexander the Great. And then when Alexander the Great had his brazen conquests, and then he died at a young age, and it got split up into the generals, the different parts of the Greek empire now split. So, but Greece was that power of the leopard, of a quality of brazenness. And that's why they are compared to the leopard, because Greeks, the Greek philosophy, the Greek world was the quality of the brazen leopard, as we see in Alexander's conquest. But even more important in his conquests, the Maharal explains that the quality of being brazenness has to do with your mind. Because when a person, if you imagine two people, or whatever, they're just fighting each other, but someone has a mind that they can understand things, they know they're right, and they feel that they are above the other person, they'll think of tactics and they can approach things in a very strong way to push what they have to push. And that really was Greece. Meaning it wasn't just the fighting, but it was their view of the Greek philosophy. The way the Greeks went and looked about, we are going to understand the world and we're going to conquer the world through our minds. That quality was a powerful ingredient and a powerful part of the Greek dominance of the world. Now, what happened here is the whole world said, hey, wow, your culture, your beliefs, your everything is so much greater than ours. We want to become Greeks. And that is how the Greek culture spread throughout the world. Everyone loved it. Everyone said, this is superior to what we have, except for one nation. The Jews said, no, this is not superior to what we have. We have much greater than this. We have Torah. We have the ultimate wisdom. What happened practically in Chanukah time was there were Jews who were drawn into the Greek beliefs, all the Hellenists, who did adopt the Greek belief. And there was a schism in the Jewish world. Comes along the descendants of Aaron, and they show that they have true brazenness. What's their brazenness? They are able to fight, to conquer a mighty army, and to show that they are correct and their beliefs are true. And no matter how much the Greeks force them, or try to force them to accept the Greek beliefs through their gezeras, through their decrees of life and death, they'll kill you if you learn Torah. They'll kill you if you keep the Shabbat. They'll kill you if you keep Rosh Chodesh. They'll kill you if you do circumcision. If you try to have your beliefs, we believe, the Greeks say, our belief is greater, we will kill you. The Kohanim that led this revolt, the Maccabim, the Chashmonim from our Kohanim, or descendants of Aaron, said, no, we will show you have true brazenness, because we will fight this unbelievable battle to show that we are going to stand up for what we know is true. And that was the comfort for Aaron. The comfort was, listen, you might have thought originally the reason why you didn't bring this offerings was there some shortcoming with you. You didn't know how to stand up for what was true. No. Other reasons why you thought that wasn't the right thing to do, and maybe that was appropriate even. When the test is going to happen is in the future, when your descendants are going to have to stand up and be brazen against the ultimate brazen nation and say, we will stand up for what's true even more, that will be the test. And that's how God comforted Aaron. He said, yours is greater. You're going to light the candelabra, the menorah, not just the one in the temple, but the one that's going to happen throughout history. It's going to happen through your descendants. Chanukah candles that are going to show that when you have to stand up for the truth, you're afraid of no one. That was the battle. I want to show you it's an amazing thing because you have to understand something. You know, when you think about it, you say, well, why did the rabbis have such a problem with the Greek views? You know, there are some major problems with them. So a lot of times people think of it as, well, the Greeks were into the beautiful body, physical, only physical. That's not really exactly true. Yes, that was an important element of it. But what the Greeks brought was philosophy, love of wisdom. What could be wrong with love of wisdom? What would the sages of Israel prefer than the love of wisdom? So what was the problem in the most fundamental aspect of this? And this you have to understand, there's a principle called Zelu Mazeh Asalokim, that everything is in balance. There is always the force of good has the force of negativity that tries to counterbalance it. And the sages tell us that at the beginning of the Second Temple time, starting with the great sage Shimon HaTzadik, was the proliferation of the oral Torah, the Mishnah, and so eventually it's going to be the Gemara, the Talmud. The proliferation of that is in the Second Temple period of time. Now, what is that? What is the idea of oral Torah? So it means like this, is that the written Torah, Hashem tells you this is what it is and gives you the parameters on how to understand things. But I have to apply them using my mind. So the proliferation of the oral Torah means that the human being takes his human mind and uses it to understand the infinite. Okay, to understand the Torah. At the same time as that quality is expanding in the Jewish people, there rises an opposite quality. Aristotle, learned at the same time. And that is the period of time where the great Greek philosophers begin. Because they're also the quality of using the human mind. But where does it go? It goes in the end to the human mind. In other words, from the Jewish perspective, I have been given a mind. I can use my mind to the nth degree, and it shows that I am connected to a source beyond myself. For the Greeks, the point was the human mind for the sake of the human mind, which is why Nachmanides, when he talks about Aristotle, he calls him the cursed Aristo. Okay, why does he call him the cursed Aristotle? He says, Aristotle who could only believe what his mind could contain. Now, we don't tell people they should believe stuff they don't understand. But when you understand things, this is the limited thing. There can't be anything beyond it. So Newtonian physics makes perfect sense. Well, quantum physics doesn't make any sense. You know, an Einsteinian view doesn't make sense. It's, well, I can understand it, but it didn't fit into their worldview. And therefore, Aristotle said, whatever I can't understand with my mind must not be true by definition. There is no place where my mind, the reason why it's true is because it is a reflection of a greater dimension to my source. And maybe sometimes I have to take a jump to get something that I won't normally understand. That is the quality of the lighting of the Chanukah candles. Because light represents wisdom, it's understanding. It means clarity. I can understand something. Oil, which rises up to the top, right? But water, the oil rises up, represents wisdom too. Okay, it's even somehow in the mystical systems, if you eat olive oil, it's supposed to be very good for your mind. So the quality of light and oil is the quality of the mind of understanding. And therefore, the victory in Chanukah was not simply a war. That wasn't the main thing. The victory in Chanukah was, how does a human being use his mind? The Greeks used their mind in their way, and that's what it was about. It was about the human, it's the study of the human being. And the human being, and that's why the Greek gods are human beings, and they fight and they kill and they get jealous, because bottom line is that's what it is. And when all you are is a human being, you have nothing beyond that, that goes south pretty fast. It goes badly, very quickly. When all you are is the human being and you're not attached to something beyond that, so you see their gods are fighting and jealous and killing and but if the mind is used to understand and connect to the infinite wisdom, that's the ultimate process. And that literally is the lighting of the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. Because there are two places where we see wisdom in the temple. One is the ark, where Hashem speaks to Moshe from above the ark. So that's wisdom that comes from above, right? Hashem giving us the wisdom. What is the lighting of the candles? Lighting candles is me, the human being, taking the light and bringing the light into the world. It's taking that wisdom and now using it from the human perspective. That's even why the sages tell us the seven branches of the candelabra represent the seven wisdoms. There's seven wisdoms in the world, different discussions of what exactly that is. And that is the human wisdom, but now it's going to be turned to the higher dimension of understanding. And that is an amazing aspect. That's why after the story of the battle of Chanukah, there are no more great Greek philosophers. Just dwindles. It was great. And this period of time, it ends. And this reason why is because the sages tell us, the mystics tell us, that at that point, the sages of Israel took the wisdom out from the Greeks in this battle. Because they said, we could use our minds towards the holiest understanding and deepest understanding that's beyond us. And so therefore we commemorate the miracle, the war, stupendous, amazing. But the essence of Chanukah is the essence of the human being having power to think, to use his rational facilities to really be able to go and become fantastic, amazing, but in a system that is connected to the infinite. Okay, so let's start getting ready for Chanukah and get ourselves into that mindset of using our minds to connect the deepest way. All the best.